think I told you this week that a king's environment expresses the nature of the king. And that's why a king would not build a small house. Because visually, you're supposed to know what a king is like just by looking at the environment of the king. You're supposed to tell how wealthy a king is by how his workers look, those who work around it. I want you to pause and think of that for a minute. In other words, the atmosphere of a king's environment expresses what the king is like. So you can actually know what a king is like before you meet him. The place he lives, the people that work for him are supposed to express his nature. Let me just clear a word up here because some of you still may have a problem with that word. The word nature, write it down, is the same word for glory. There's a book I want to recommend to you to get again. And I write these books because I try to correct problems that are age-old problems. And the research that I try to do is to help you reconnect to the original understanding of things. The word glory is the word nature. It's from the word weighty, W-E-I-G-H-T-Y. Write it down, weighty. Glory means weighty, heavy. And the concept is from true weight, glory. So glory is not smoke in a room with light in it that you're being taught. It's not some mist in the room that you see and then you get excited about all this condensation and you call it glory. From people sweating or something. You know, glory is completely different. Glory is the full weight of something. Another way you can define it in our modern term, glory means true essence of something. In other words, the glory of an orange is actually the orange juice. See, there's a difference between an orange and an orange juice. The orange is like the container, but the glory, the true essence of an orange is when you squeeze it, the juice comes out. That's the glory of the orange. Is that clear? Yeah. So you may have a bud, you know, and maybe get something here to show you how glory it looks. I don't see any here. But if you have a flower, you'll see that sometimes there's a bud on the same branch. Oh, I think this one here. This is good. I'm going to get in trouble. My folks ain't looking. Okay, you see those little yellow things? These are actually the flower. That is the bud. This is the glory of it. The glory of it is when you show the real thing. So glory is always hidden. When something is in its full bloom, full weight, it's called its glory. Please read that book. I have one there. Buy that one book and watch your whole life change this year. It's called The Glory of Living. How to live until everything is out of you. So we use words and don't understand them. You know, a few times, for example, this week, you heard the term, the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of God. And you get really excited about that. Me, I get quiet about it because I'm thinking, do they really understand what they're talking about? The earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of God simply means that this planet will be filled with what God is like. His nature will show up in business, education, politics, youth, babies, marriages, homes, parenting. His nature will show up in everything. That's what means to fill you with his glory. His kingdom nature will come to it. So it's not some mystical thing. It's very practical. The true essence of God will show up. And so when we talk about understanding the glory of a king, we're talking about the nature of a king, what a king is truly like, shows up in his atmosphere. You remember that when the Queen of Sheba heard, everybody say heard, she never saw the guy. She just heard about this guy named Solomon who lived up north in the Mediterranean. She lived in Africa, but she heard about it. And she heard about his glory. What is glory? His nature. They said this king was the wisest king. He was the richest king and all this stuff. And she heard about it. And she didn't quite believe it, okay? So she said, let me go see this for myself. That's why she left Africa and went north and traveled through up Egypt and came all the way up to the Mediterranean. And she came to Israel to see this so-called great king. She wasn't impressed first. But remember, she bought a gift because she never visited a king without a gift. So she bought all this stuff with her. And the Bible says that when she entered the courtyard, just the grounds of his palace, she became weak in the knees, it says. Because when she saw his servants, they were dressed in fine linen. In other words, just the folks who worked with them blew her mind. She knew she was in trouble the minute she saw the servants. Then she said, what she saw that eating on, like the plate was silver and the forks were gold. He knew, oh my God, this is a dangerous king. Then the Bible says she saw the meat on the plate, and it was fine meat. In other words, the highest, best cut of meat. The servants were eating fine meat. She knew, oh my goodness, I'm in trouble. Just the glory of the place. And the Bible says, when she looked at the servants and what they were wearing, there was no more breath in her body. Okay. Listen to me carefully. Who do you think gave them the linen to wear? King. Who do you think gave them the silver forks and golden plates? The king. Why? Represent him. Good word. Someone just said represent him. Okay. See, this is why kingdoms are different from democracies. This is why kingdoms are completely opposite to socialism. This is why I would rather be in a kingdom than be in a democracy. In democracy, you got to try and buy your own car and get your own clothing. And you only get the kind you can afford. And you don't represent your prime minister nor your president. And they don't care how you dress. They dress fine. They don't care about the citizens. You know, how you dress, that's your problem. You know, you got to work and make your money. So the prime minister dresses fine because, you know, he gets paid a good salary, but you probably have problems because you don't get paid as much. And so in a democracy, you know, there's no common wealth. A king is different. And that is why in a kingdom, you don't talk about wealth. The reason why a king needs to be rich is because he got to protect his reputation. Now, you understand what I'm talking about. Y'all looking at me funny. The king needs a lot of money because he got to buy you clothes. Why? He protected his reputation. A king wants you to have too much so that when people see you, they know he's a king of plenty. So nothing is more insulting to a king than you asking the king for something. Like, give me some clothes. Can I have some money? Can I have some shoes? Can I have some food? That's an insult to a king. So now you understand the words of Jesus. Why did you worry what you will eat, what you will drink, what you will wear, how you will live? He said, stop that. Don't even think about it. He said, take no thought of these things. Why? He said, but seek first to get into the kingdom. Once you get into the kingdom, now the king is responsible for putting all those things on you because he got to protect his reputation.